Hi, my name is Jasmine. Please let me introduce you to the app that myself, Sam, Alex and Jake have all been creating in the past 2 weeks, Neighbourhoot. Neighbourhoot is an app designed for recording and tracking bird sightings within your neighbourhood. The idea originally came about by discussions we were having with both our parents and our neighbours as to what kind of bird species we all had in our yards. These discussions did occasionally turn into heated debates as we had no idea what was local to us. So we created an app to identify the species, but most importantly, keep the peace between all of us. Now, over to Alex to help you sign up.
So, I'm going to show you how a user signs up. The first time a user opens the app, they're greeted with this welcome screen, and they get to meet Aaron the owl up at the top there for the first time. By clicking sign up, they are taken to a form where they need to fill in their details, such as their name, their email address, and their date of birth. Then they need to choose a password. Password does need to be 8 characters long and contain at least one number, one uppercase and one lowercase letter. This needs to be confirmed, and the two passwords are compared. If they're not the same, then an error message will show to let the user know. Once the user is happy that everything is filled in correctly, they can click sign up, where they'll then be taken to this screen. Here they're prompted to check their email accounts. So if we go and check my email, there's a link there. We just follow the instructions, simply just click this link. And we get a prompt say the registration has been confirmed. So from here, the user can go back to the app, click login, and they'll be able to fill in their details and continue to the rest of the app. So from this point, I'm going to pass you over to Jasmine, who will demonstrate that for you.
Okay, now I'll be taking you through the logging in as a previously registered user. Now the screen recording software isn't showing you our password, but I can assure you it is there. I am pressing login now. Now the first page we come to is all the birds within your local area. Now wherever you are, it is a 6 kilometre radius and it shows you all the bird sightings that have been registered. So we can see this guy, he is a Eurasian bluetit. It shows you his stats up there. He's got a wingspan of 18 centimetres, so he's obviously pretty small. Now I think I can tell you for the purpose of this demo, I am using pictures of my dogs and pretending they are birds in my garden. Right now, so we're going to look at whoever is in our local area and where they've been spotted. So we can see that a couple of ducks have been spotted just over the river, and there has been a rook just down the street there. Now, I think I saw something in my garden this morning, but I'm not entirely sure who it was. So I'm going to go on the filter and see who it was. Now, I think he had a red chest and I think he had a brown head. So let me press filter and see what we get. Now, this filters through all of the birds that we have, not just the birds in your local area. So, oh, yeah, that looks like him. And he is a robin. Fabulous. I will tell my neighbour. Now we're going to go to our profile page and have a little look at who we've registered earlier. So it comes up with all the birds that you have added as a sighting. Now we can see that I saw a house sparrow just on my decking this morning, and I saw a rook in my kitchen as well. Now underneath here we do see all the local birds, and we can see that a rook has been spotted there and the house sparrow was also there. Well, wonderful. So it comes up on the map. Now we have seen something and we would like to take a picture of it. So we click on the little camera icon here and we go and take a picture of our wonderful bird sighting. That's great. Now I'm not super happy with that picture. It doesn't look very birdy to me, so I'm just going to retake it. And that is great. There we go. We're just going to zoom in a little bit and crop it. And we're going to use that photo there. Now, I personally think that that looks like a Canadic goose. So we're going to post that bird sighting and that's going to come up in our little profile page immediately. Now, I'm currently feeling a little bit guilty that I have added something that isn't a bird, so I'm just going to delete it there, and I should have deleted it instantly. That's great. Okay, now I'm going to pass you over to Sam to talk about our back-end tech.
Our backend uses AWS, which we chose for its centralised nature, the ability for components to work well together when necessary, and for its proliferation in modern development. From beginning to end, our users are connected to one AWS service or another. Amazon Cognito handles our users' signups and logins, storing their data securely and ensuring email verification. DynamoDb is the core of our project, storing each bird as a separate entity assigned a location, a username, and an image. Birds which share names also share feature lists, which is handled using Lambda functions on the backend so that distinct entities still maintain common values. All of our images are stored in an S3 bucket. When a bird is sighted, the image is first uploaded to a bucket, which then responds with the URL. The URL and the bird data are then sent to the database for storage. In future, we'd change this behaviour with Lambda integration on the backend, so that the app needn't make multiple requests for a single function. Finally, all of these requests are handled using an API gateway. Feature requests are made using query strings, while all other GET requests are handled using parametric endpoints. Our delete requests require a body rather than a path, since it was the only request that required a single bird ID. Now I'll hand you over to Jake to talk a little bit about the front-end tech.
Hi everyone, I'm Jake and I'm going to talk through the front-end side of the application. So we initially decided that we wanted to have a fully native experience with the app. So after lots of spiking and researching into different technologies, we decided to choose React Native as the framework that was going to allow us to do this. There are several reasons we chose React Native, the first one being its cross-platform capability. So the fact that from the single code base we wrote, this was able to be deployed across multiple operating systems, so both iOS and Android, so it didn't limit the user experience based on if they only had one particular device. It was available on both, which we found really useful. The second reason are the well-supported documents that React Native comes with. So any problems we encountered or any new features we wanted to add to the application, we was able to refer back to these documents, and that really helped with the progress and development as we got further into the app. Expo is also an additional feature of React Native, so we used that with Xcode, which gave us a live simulator. So any changes we made with the code, we was able to visually see this on a phone, how this would look to the user, which we found really useful. And this also gave us access to the camera, location and permissions, all of which were features we needed within this application. We also increased the complexity of the app, so it's made entirely of functional components through React hooks to manage and update state. And we also needed to access state from different levels within the app, and we achieved this through also using React context, which we found very useful. We finally used GoogleMaps API to display the map and implement the user's location as a pin, and also to interact with the backend we use Axios for its CRUD capabilities, the error handling that Axios provides, and because we wanted the feature of querying, we also used Axios because of its capabilities to allow us to easily be able to do that.
From the start, we knew that we wanted to learn something new, and so our tech stack ended up looking almost entirely unfamiliar to anything we used to working with. It was a daunting start. We divided our research into separate groups, so that we'd have a clear understanding of how everything worked before we touched any of it. We used our twice daily stand-ups to share what we'd learned and how we expected it to be used in the project. With each team member being a teacher as well as a student, we quickly gained a grasp on the new technology, and by staying in constant communication, we never lost sight of our technology's place in the whole project. As well as new technology, we also had to contend with a new team. We were only partway through this course when the lockdown began, and so we didn't know each other very well. On top of that, our team drew from both Leeds and Manchester students who knew each other even less. This meant that we didn't have a pre-existing social dynamic and had to lean heavily on agile practices to organise ourselves, with great results. Twice daily stand-ups meant that we were in constant communication, and pair programming, with constantly swapping pairs, meant that we all got comfortable working together fairly quickly, as well as learning each other's strengths, and each having a hand in every part of the project. When it all came together at the end, we had a go at mob programming, which worked wonderfully. Our team communicated well, and the results speak for themselves. Unfortunately, we also lost a team member during this project for personal reasons. Losing a team member meant that we had to reassign their work, and although it wasn't the nicest way to learn the lesson, it was a perfect test of our agile strategy. We all had at least a small understanding of how each part worked, and so were able to quickly adapt and carry on working. It wasn't the nicest way to learn the lesson, but our agile strategy did prove resilient. Now I'll hand you over to Jake.
So throughout the remote working experience, the only thing we found difficult as a group was communication. This was mainly down to unstable internet connections or someone's computer maybe not working correctly, but this was overcome by simply waiting for them to resolve it, which didn't usually take long, and then we could continue whatever needed to be done that day. We ensured that we had twice daily stand-ups, so one in the morning to talk about tasks that needed doing, and then one in the afternoon to talk about progress and what else needed doing prior to moving forward. And we related this to our Kanban board, of which we used Trello to delegate tasks to individuals and also pairs. We also had successful experiences with mob and pair programming through using VS Code Live Share and Zoom Screen Share, and this allowed us to all simultaneously implement code and see the changes, and it worked really well for us.
So we had a lot of ideas that we wanted to implement into this app, but we needed to keep ourselves on a tight schedule to make sure that we produced a usable product. Given a little bit more time, the main thing we would have focused on would be letting a user filter through the map so they can see where a specific bird has been spotted throughout the country, as well as kind of including a timestamp so it would be possible to know when that bird was seen. This would have just helped add another level of depth to the app. And we'd have liked to have used more detailed data so that a user can learn more about that bird, so just some useful statistics and interesting facts. And all of this would have just helped to aid a slightly more educational aspect to the project. Unfortunately, we weren't always able to learn everything that was to know about some of the technology we were using, and generally we had to learn on the go. As a result, we realised that we probably weren't using everything to its optimal potential. However, in some cases, we realised this a little bit too late. For example, the navigation. Once we learned more about it and discovered a better way to utilise it within React Native, it was too late for us to go back. It would have involved undoing and rearranging a lot of work that had already been done, and we were just too far through. So we just decided to keep it as it is so that we could reach our deadline. Although this is something that, were we to redo the project, knowing what we know now, we would be able to implement it better right from the beginning. And in regards to user experience, we'd like to have included a username that the user could choose when they signed up, just to kind of create a slightly more personal experience. But it was something that we struggled with initially because we were just grappling with learning several aspects of AWS, and it just became a little bit too much too soon. Placing age restrictions as well on users and letting them kind of report other people's photos would just kind of ensure that Neighbourhoot remained a kind of safe, family-friendly and educational space. And finally, something we'd like to implement in the future would be kind of adding the ability for users to kind of earn badges or medals. So the more someone uses the app, the more birds they log, the more badges that they can earn to go into their profile. Just things like logging 10 birds in one day or logging a particularly rare bird. And this will just add a slightly more interactive element. So that is it from us for now. Thank you for watching our demo. We hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be around to answer any questions that you might have in the comments below.